Okay, team, good morning. Remember last time on the Algebra 1, 4 to 6 weeks, test number 2, we concluded that these were the questions that the students were struggling with. Remember, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 questions out of the 30. And so what we were supposed to do was to go back, include them in the bell ringers, in the problems of the day, or maybe in the exit ticket. So I mean, technically, figure out a way so that we can include those types of questions. And let's just see an example. For example, number 20. Of course, it's not going to be that same question all the time that we're going to be going over, but again, we're going to use this as an example, create questions similar to this, and then once we administer the next test, then we would expect to see results, because we agreed that on the next test, which is the semester exam, we were going to include these type of questions. Yes?
Yes.
And aside from that, we were going to include the new topic, which was quadratics. So these questions that the students missed the most, plus the quadratic questions, that was going to compose our 6 weeks exam. And the students just took the 6 week exam. So what we're going to do is, since we already included these questions that we have up here in the semester exam, and we already administered it, what we're going to do for next meeting is we're going to look at those questions that we included in the 6 week exam, and we're going to see if we have any improvement. That way we can compare, and we can share ideas as far as to, okay, Mr. Torres had improvement on number 26. He went from a 30% passing to an 80% passing on that type of question. So maybe Mr. Torres can share, okay, what did you do? Did you include them in the bell ringer, in the problems of the day, or maybe in the exit ticket, maybe in both, or maybe you included it in your lesson, or what is it that you did to have that improvement? And then, maybe, he had improvements on all of them. We can share that for our next meeting. Aside from that, we're also going to be looking into the 6 weeks exam. And we're going to do the same process. We're going to identify the ones that the students struggle the most, but we're going to focus only on quadratics, since the test consisted of these and the quadratics, right? So we're gonna analyze that. Same thing that we did with the test number 2, right? Same thing. But now we're gonna bring the data from these questions and see how we did. Yes? Are we all on board?
Yes.
Okay. Now, we are using this program called GradeCam. And so everybody should be familiar with it. Some of us a little bit less than others. So basically, we log in. And so in here, we should have, again, the 4 to 6 weeks exam that the students just took. And if we go to reports, and we select the 4 to 6 weeks exam, we should have the data that we need. So basically, we're gonna look at item summary, and in here we're gonna find out how our students did. And so we can do this again with a second test for the 4 to 6 weeks, and we can look at how they did in the questions, and then bring those results back to share for tomorrow on the next meeting. Again, not only that, we're also going to look into the ones that consist of quadratics, and we're going to bring those results as well, so that we can determine which are the quadratics that they're struggling with, and that way we can apply the same method that we did for test number 2. We can apply it for the semester exam. And then again, right here we see, 14 students got it right, 22 got it incorrect. So that one, 39%, that's a struggling one. But also we have to make sure whether that is a quadratic or that's one of the ones that we included in test number 2, right? So we have to do that. So you have homework, okay, for tonight. Look for the ones that we included in the.
It takes a while. Just press the camera there, and then.
Oh, it's up here.
No, it's just like the camera and then. There you go.
Okay, so again, let's just go over what we have to do, or what is the homework for tonight. We're gonna look into semester exam for the 4 to 6 weeks, and we're gonna look into those questions that the students were struggling on test number 2. We're gonna get the results for that, for each of the questions, and see how students did. Once we have the results, we can look into what did the teachers do in order to improve those results. Okay, so that's gonna be the first part. Is that clear?
Yes.
Just like we're gonna look into the semester exam for those questions, the ones that we included, and see the improvement. And then we're gonna look at techniques or ideas on how different teachers did it, so that we can share. That's gonna be the first part. The second part, we're gonna have to look at the results for the semester exam, and we're gonna come up with the questions that the students struggled. At least, maybe 10 questions that they struggled with, and we're gonna come up with a plan as far as, okay, we have these questions that they struggled with, let's include them, in the problems of the day. Let's include them in the exit ticket, or maybe let's include it, throughout the lesson, if possible. Other than that, I believe that's it for tomorrow. So I don't know if there's any questions as far as what will be, or what would the meeting consist of tomorrow, or maybe questions on how to get the data, or I don't know if there's anything that you might want to ask.
Nope.
Nope. We're set? Okay, so basically that's it for today. Thank you. Okay, good afternoon. The purpose for this meeting is to look into the questions that the students were struggling from last time on the 4 to 6 weeks test number 2. And so remember that we put together the 6 weeks exam, which was composed of those questions they struggled with, along with quadratics. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look into the questions that they were struggling with. So here we have the 6 weeks exam, and since the students already took this test, we have some data on it. So we're going to look into the data. And so first of all, let's go ahead and circle the ones that we included here that were very similar to the ones in the 4 to 6 weeks test number 2, which were number 3. So you want to circle those? Number 8. Number 15. Number 17. 14.
14,
14. Yeah, 14. Let's keep that one. 16.
14, 15,
14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. And then we have number 21 and number 25. And one more, number 29. So those are the 10 we're going to take a look into. I think there's 10 of those.
15, 45,
There's 10 questions, right?
you said 18 also, right?
Let me see.
Yes. Yes.
18, yeah, 14, 15, 16, 17,
Okay.
and 18. So I believe everybody's using Practicum, and of course, some of us have been using it more than others. Me personally, we started using it like 2 weeks ago. So as we log in, if you want to go ahead and log into your Practicum. And so this is a page that, first appears for me, so it's probably the same for you. And the only test I have there is a 4th semester exam, so let's go ahead and click on that one. And there we have all of our students. So we're gonna go to reports. And then we're gonna select item summary. And there we have all of the students, all of our students, like for every single class, for the results for the 6 weeks exam, the 4th 6 weeks exam. So let's look into those questions. Let's look at the first one, which was number 3. And let's see if we saw any improvements or maybe not really.
You could
Like, for
highlight the
example,
question, the ones like 3, highlight question 3, 8,
And there you go.
8, and then
So
there are 14,
3, 8,
14.
15, 16.
Not 13.
on the 13,
15,
14,
16.
15, 16,
17.
25 to 29.
21,
21.
25,
25,
21?
21 también era?
21, yes.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
And
And
25.
29.
29. Okay.
It should be 10, right?
And go to print.
And then, yeah, we could also print them. And it'll show us there. Because we have the expert here on grade 10,
Great.
or at least more than some of us. I guess we can save it to PDF, right? Print to PDF, and then it'll show us.
Where did you go to see only the questions?
Print.
I do print.
Oh.
No, first you
Well,
need to highlight them.
So,
Yeah,
yeah,
I
select,
saw.
okay, and then print.
Print. Oh, and it shows you, it's already there, right?
Yeah, you don't have to print
Yeah, you don't
it.
have to print, just
But
exit.
if you wanted to look at the.
But do we have to exit it or what?
No, just, what I saw, it just shows you the problems that we selected.
But then this comes out, so.
Have you pressed cancel, would it
Cancel?
leave? Oh, yeah, it will.
Are you
Can you
doing it?
minimize it?
or-
I put put it again, print, and then put Adobe
PDF,
PDF,
right, yeah.
see. You're right, please.
Mine doesn't come out.
You
It
already?
just
No?
gives me the screen, the print screen. It only has this print, but yes, I can see the print preview.
Ah, okay, go to, change it to PDF.
Okay?
Save as PDF.
Okay.
This one is different, it's a little different.
Yeah,
It's just different porque mine stayed there.
I don't know.
Ahí está. Y lo va a salir.
Yeah.
Put it no, right there, mira. Just put it on the very top, Adobe PDF.
Oh, this is it,
No, I put the first one.
No,
Oh, this
no.
one.
Uh-huh. And it stayed open.
So, apply. Print.
So this is basically the PDF. Okay. Bueno, as we can see here, we have the data, And so, well, this is my data. You're gonna look into yours, and we're gonna see whether, we had gains or not really, and we can also look into the questions and see what was a misconception maybe. Maybe there's a misconception. I remember last time we said that on one of them, like, we messed up, so we can also look into that right now. So let's go to question number 3. As you can see, for me it was, kind of 50-50, or, 58% passing. I don't know, what numbers did you have, really, did you?
51%.
51, yeah, so, same thing, Mr. Morelos, I don't know what numbers.
Is it about 50?
50, también, Ms. Pestaña?
81.
81.
Oh, wow.
So, maybe Ms. Pestaña, can, just share a little bit on what did you, or what did you implement? Maybe it was something you implemented after we had that discussion, or maybe you've been doing it, or maybe you really focused, on that question. I
Yes,
don't know.
the problem is different though, because the other one had inequalities and this one doesn't.
So I think that's the one where we messed up, right?
Yeah.
Or even in the questions, you're talking about the questions, right?
Yes.
It had inequalities, and then I think on that one we messed up on the last test, because it was like, which are the inequalities? So the
Oh,
students
yes.
selected
And
one of those inequalities. So that was probably why.
inequalities.
So I guess you've been teaching it the correct way or really good all along, it was just that little,
Yeah, and this time
mistake.
they did not have to differentiate between discrete and continuous.
right.
On the other one, they had to differentiate. So it was a little bit easier this
So a little bit easier, right? And even at that, we had more or less like 50-50, but then you had 81. So that's why I'm saying maybe, you're doing something different that could probably help us out. And so those things we can also discuss, at another time. Maybe we can have another meeting, especially on that, like focus on the teachers that are getting high grades or high percentages in one question, and then just like really focus and dissect those kind of questions. Let's take a look at number 8, which is the next one. So this one is on direct variation. I had, that one was low for me, 39. So it continues to be low. So in
74.
the 74, okay, so that's good. Mr. Morelos, I don't know you're having kind of trouble with
Yeah, it keeps.
Ms. Pestana,
I had 94.
94. Okay, so you are the pro here. 94, that's very good. So I guess as you can see here, I'm probably doing something wrong with that direct variation question. So maybe I have to change the way I teach it, or maybe, pretty much probably reteach it again. Is there any, it's like we're picking on you, but is there any type of like method you use, or how is it that?
Set up a table and cross multiply, but this one on test number 2, it was not one of my low questions. The students did have
Oh,
six
okay,
tests
so,
too.
right, so then again,
So I expected them to do it again,
right, because last time we said, and this was like in general, like all of us together, maybe that wasn't one of the ones that yours struggle with. So what you're saying is that, yours didn't struggle in the 14th week test number 2, and likewise this time they didn't struggle. I don't know, for me it was a low one, and again it continues to be a low one. So basically, I need to do something on that question.
I think if you mention to your students the butterfly or bat thing, they'll
Yeah.
remember.
So one of them mentioned, like, I was like, yeah, cross multiply, and then they were like, oh, the bat and ball. I'm like, yeah,
Yeah,
the
they
bat and
will
ball.
say. So they'll remember those stuff.
I tried using the y equals kx, but
Yeah, the white coast case is like, because once you throw more stuff, it's like just throwing more variables in there, it's like,
they get confused.
they do get confused. Alright, so let's look at number 14 now. This one was one of my strong ones, so. Number 14. Which one is that one? Okay. The system word problem, right? And so I don't know, what did you get on that one, Miss?
74.
74, okay.
What was it?
Number 14.
14.
Yeah, 74 is good.
That was one of my lowest. 45.
45 is percent.
81.
81. 86. So let me just share, since I was the one with the highest one. What I did was, you know, because we've been doing like, okay, solve for the variable, you know, and like pretty much x and y, solve for y. So, you know, we have that method. But what I did was like, I told them, okay, make a table and try out different numbers. Like just guess and check. And it's even easier for them since they have answer choices. Because I did it without answer choices. They'll just guess, you know, okay, three quarters and 12 nickel. Or if they had 3/4, well, they needed to add up to 15. You know what I'm saying? So I told them that. I'm like, hey, just guess. Okay, how many quarters? 3. Okay, if you know that it needs to add up to 15, because you can only have 12 dimes. You know, and just take it like that. Take to see if it
So you
adds
had
up.
them predict their first to see if they could,
Right.
who gets the number, like quien latina.
Right.
And then-
So it's basically called guess and check. I mean,
Mhm.
that's the way.
And now when they have the answers, it's easier for them.
Yeah. Once they have the answers, they don't have to guess randomly. They guess
Yeah,
according to the answers.
me too.
So I mean, I guess that's what helped. So that's one thing that probably helped on that one. Now I don't know if there's any other comments on number 14. If not, we can move on to 15,
Mhm.
and that's also system, but this is just like straight up just 2 equations and finding the solution. So on that one, as you can see, that one I really struggle a lot. So
I got 60% on that.
60, Morelos,
Yeah, 37.
37,
I'm good 94.
94.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
okay.
I went over
No.
that.
You went over the
I used them.
You went over the test?
over the test,
I
okay?
used them on problems of the day, and and
Oh.
that was one of the
Very
ones I
similar.
picked. Remember how we picked
Yeah, yeah.
our low? That was one of
That
mine.
was one of your
Yeah,
lowest.
that was one of
or-
mine.
Yeah.
So I made sure I stressed, you know,
You
that.
really stress on that one.
What was the answer for that one? I can't recall.
What was it?
That one was
Infinite.
infinite number solution.
Infinite. Now for me, I'm guessing like I guess solving for y. I mean that's what I can see here. The second solving for y, that's the way I will struggle. Ms. Pesania already shared that she like really stressed on it. Probably used them on the problems of the day every day. Maybe that's what worked for her. But again, that's why we're analyzing this, and we can share ideas and see what's working, what's not working, so that we can maybe implement it for next test.
There was something else on that one. I showed my students the grade camp. So I
Okay.
showed them, and I shared with them that as a class that almost everybody got that one wrong. So we went over it on the test number 2. We went over it.
Right.
And then we included the problems of the day. So they saw, oh, we all got that one wrong. So they were like aware of that. Like they were like ready for that question in the next test. I did tell them it was gonna be on the next test.
Right, so let's use it as like a motivation,
Yeah.
for them
Yeah,
to
they
see
knew
their
to watch
failure.
out. They knew to watch out for that one.
Yeah, so they saw our failure and it's like, okay, like we have to do better on
How
that.
would you guys show the kids who solve for y on that one? Do you have any other strategies besides?
Mm,
I do the hard method.
You do the
The
hard
hard.
method? Hard method. So they still gotta take the opposite of x?
Oh, but
you
this
wanna,
is hard, hard.
you wanna like,
No, the heart, corazon. So you put 2y
2 what? Oh, I don't know.
plus
2y
6x
plus 6
equals negative.
y equals,
Negative 4. Okay.
So they draw the line in the middle,
okay,
and the way I tell them, anything that's not y goes through the top.
Anything that's not.
okay,
So that's not with the y.
Okay.
So,
so this and
Uh-huh.
this.
see, so I circle the things that I need to get rid of on the left side. So,
Okay, so
2
this one,
and then 6x.
with the plus or nomás 6x?
Sí, con el plus. So then I tell them every time one thing's gonna go through the top and one through the bottom. The top one will be the opposite, the bottom will be the same. So it doesn't matter if they have it opposite or sides, they already know top, bottom. So X will go through the top,
So like this one,
uh-huh,
where this side?
yeah, that side, and it becomes minus 6x.
So, oh, okay, so everything
Sí.
minus 6x, okay?
And then the 2 goes to the bottom, which is the y. So they go like that, and then you put it as a fraction.
Each one or all
No,
of it?
todo,
Todo,
everything
okay.
together. So
I
then,
do each one, that's why I was
so then they do the 2 on the bottom. So when I tell them, oh, it doesn't matter what the equations on this side, you always find the y first. Any number that's with the y goes under, and then everything
Right.
else, because it could not be x, x might be already on the other side,
Yes.
goes through the top. And then from there, that's what they call it the heart, because they do a heart. So first, they're gonna simplify the x. So they do like half of the heart,
Right here?
same.
Come on, see?
So, yeah, so they, let me do it.
I don't see the heart there.
I don't see the order,
So this is what they do, they do this part first.
Ah, okay, okay.
So they put in the calculator like alpha y equals negative 6/2 gives you negative 3x, and then they do this part of the heart.
Oh, so that's how you get your slope,
See,
right?
so then it's minus 2, and that's their y equals. And I told them this is not an actual mathematical method, it's just for them to
For them to
remember
see
to
it,
simplify.
Okay. But I mean, they don't only remember the hard, they also remember this.
Sí.
But when you say the hard, they remember
Visually.
everything.
They remember the whole step, so when I tell them, oh, you have to use the hard method, right, they already know that, oh, it's when I have to send it over, under, and then get my y equals mx plus b.
So the hard is just like
A trick.
an indicator or like
Sí.
kinda like,
I used to do
what do
it
you
the
call it, like
hard
it
way,
sparks
but
up,
not anymore.
okay, I know how to do this.
See,
Kinda like the box method, no? I mean, you tell them the box method, okay, I know what to do.
yeah. And there's
Um,
times that they have a one, like, let's say for instance, it's already other steps, you know how sometimes they see 2y equals 2x plus 5, right?
So this is just like for graphing or just like
For
a system
solving
by
for
itself?
For
Ooh, how erase it?
solving
No,
for
just
y.
go to the next,
Can I do back?
yeah, you did.
No,
I did
it is
erase.
just, yeah.
Usually they're like
Didn't
most
say
España
it.
does it.
Sometimes it's.
Oh yeah.
No.
Guys, I don't know how do I go back there.
Press the.
What I was gonna say is, what do we had here? Y equals, cause we could also leave it, and I don't know if Mr. Torres doesn't like this, okay. I don't know.
Leave it as a fraction?
Yeah, leave it as
Yeah.
a fraction, so I was also gonna say that, I
If
mean.
they don't ask for the slope or y-intercept,
Right.
I will leave it like
Yeah.
that, yes.
I tell them
Unless
if
they
it's
ask
just
for those, yes.
If it's to
So-
put on the calculator, you stop here.
Mhm.
If they ask you for the slope, then
Then
you go
you go
one more
like
step.
the long way, yes.
I know.
That's why I tell them to, you could put it like that, like,
So we
If
can
it's a
stop,
Y
There you
equals-
go, yes, and then
we
divide.
can stop right here, and
Right.
actually the hard would be to find the slope and the y-intercept.
Yeah, I tell them if they want you to go all the way, because sometimes they just want them to solve for y and they simplify it.
Yes.
but you know what, they don't even have to do that anymore, because Lascano shows that trick, where you go to y equals, and if you press enter, it gives you the y-intercept, and if you click second trace, dy over dx, it gives you the slope.
Yeah, pero lo que they're doing systems, so that's the best way for you to do it, no?
See, no, pero yo digo when they're asking for to identify the slope,
The slope,
from
yes,
the, from that one, like the student could just put it on y
You know
equals.
what, in that, I would do that as like too many steps
It's
for
the-
them to remember.
Yeah.
So I think it's better to do it like, you know, the traditional way.
Sí.
So they have to send it home.
Yeah.
They're like, and I did tell them, do not go next year and tell your teachers,
The
oh,
hard?
you do the hard, and I'm like, no.
I don't know.
We went to a training where they told us about the heart. It was like maybe like 4 or 5 years ago.
I don't remember, ese que lo dio.
We went to a training.
It was a training
Uh-huh.
thing. I remember I saw it, someone presented it to us, and I was like, oh, I like that for the students.
Somebody said like, oh, like they're not methods, you know, like the box method, it's not a method.
No.
It's like a strat, I don't know,
A
I don't know what to call
technique.
it.
Maybe a technique.
But
It's like an
Or-
organizer, it's an organizer,
Uh-huh.
that's what it is, like when we do thinking math and all that, the box is just an organizer, graphic
Mhm.
organizer. You know,
So let's continue. We left off on question number 16,
Or we should call it box organizer.
box organizer,
yeah, cause it's not a method.
box organizer, hard organizer. So number,
16?
what, fifth, yeah, 16. 16, okay, so again, 50-50, 53,
I got
Cool.
69.
69, okay. You know how many
Got-
those?
78.
78.
We got 100.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Because I,
Oh,
Okay, we
so
can
proud 'cause I got
She's been
high,
getting like
78.
90,
you see-
95.
But it's because mine have it on the board.
Oh, okay.
Ah.
So if they,
Mine too.
So pretty much that's like a little hint
So
for
they're
them
already
to,
trained, it's like me telling them the steps, it's just, you
like
know.
what to do.
So,
So they still have to reset they still have to turn on their modes on the calculator.
they do?
Sí. Porque once you put it on test mode,
It does it
it's on,
automatically.
it does it automatically.
But when you research.
But when you reset the calculator, it deletes it.
Oh, okay.
So,
So 16.
So then one, okay.
Say cheese brie.
So one thing that helped with Lasagna was pretty much like notes, right? It's
It's kind of like using their notes.
kind of like using their notes. But also, who also mentioned that? Who has it also in the notes?
I have it, I have it on the board too.
Right, so you had it on the board, but even like that, I mean.
They didn't know how to use it, so.
I have them just like in the problems of the days.
But this I have been using it quite a lot on the problems of the day.
And the misconception my student always tells me, Miss, is it R square or R? Because
Mhm.
both of them are here.
What you see over there, which says correlation coefficient, I have an R.
Sí,
So that will.
pero les digo, look at your answer choices. Does it give you R square or R?
Yeah.
Correlation coefficient, mode. Okay, so that's it for that one. Let's see, number 17. What was it? What are those after that?
I have 43 también.
43.
Which one? We were 17? Ooh, that's
17.
what it was.
Yeah, because that one is kind of tough. Whether the equation of the pen to the point.
Yeah, 31.
On that one, help me, you see the poster that you have right behind you, that. So I have the two forms, like the two forms of a point slope. If they see one on point slope, this is how they do it. And if they have the standards,
Standard form.
that's how they, so they have an example, is how to put them in the calculator.
So, like on this one,
But
What-
this one, yeah, they have to look at the table.
wouldn't one easy thing be for them just to look at the points and, can we show this one? Can you show it? Or how do you do it? Cause I mean,
My students do it on the calculator.
Yeah.
because I believe what the easiest way would be use this point, no? And for them to know that it's just, basically the opposite, right? The opposite of -9, which is
It's because they
positive
don't see
one.
the pattern of the point because the other point has a 1 too.
Yeah.
Right,
So they think they use the 9, they use 1 from each other. So that's something I noticed.
This one.
See,
oh, so that.
so they think it's 1 and 1. So that's why they start getting
And
confused.
then they also have to find the slope, so that's another room for mistake, like room for mistake there, like another step that they can get wrong. So like, I mean, that's the way I train them, I just make sure they can put it on the calculator and look at the
Right.
table.
Yeah, and evaluate the numbers?
Well, no, just look at the table.
What
on
is
the
it by
calculator.
evaluating those two numbers?
They need to
That-
find both points.
Yeah.
No, if they put
Oh,
one
okay, you just
equal,
look for the points.
yeah, they just
Yeah.
have
Yeah,
to
they
make
just
sure
look
they
for
find
those
both.
Some of my students did that and
But-
they got that A. It is
Uh,
I'm stuck between these two because
They
They
have
got
to
the slope.
distribute.
they got the slope but they don't know the y-intercept.
No, I
Cause they
just
have
use
to,
See,
they have to combine it, huh? 8, -8 plus
Yeah.
9.
see.
50% chance of
Oh,
getting.
see, it's a 50%.
Okay?
Back to PC?
When I clicked it, I don't know.
Oh,
Okay.
Yes.
So next one would be,
18.
oh, I didn't put it in.
I
18?
left it with you.
Okay.
18.
Oh, that one is the one with the break was first.
Number 18,
I know.
yeah, the transformation, this is the transformation one. Which
Let's
is,
see.
But this was a
Horizontal
quadratic.
shift.
no, wait, what, I didn't select number 18.
Yo, I don't know why.
No, but it's a quadratic anyway, I don't think anything goes on those.
Oh, so this one wasn't,
It's not one of
No.
those that we discussed.
so I probably put it there by mistake. Okay, so let's go to number 21. 21. And on this one, it's like, it's really hard for me to understand, like, it's not that difficult.
It's an easy
Yeah.
one, yeah.
That
It's an
one,
easy
that was
one, you
my
know?
low one. That was, I got 69, but it was the lowest of
I
those.
got 60.
Yeah, 55.
And, well, let me share with you real quick, well, that's what I saw one of my students, cause, whenever they were correcting the, one of the numbers, Mr. Say, oh, can you show it there? For me, it was like, they were making their best trend line like right here.
Yeah, very high, mine
Right,
too.
very high, cause I guess they saw the most of the points,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it goes through most of the points.
No, sir.
So the way I tell them is, make sure that when you make your line, you have the same number of points on top and the same number of points in the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The ones that go through it, don't count.
You know what, also sometimes they go between the first and the last point, and they always wanna connect those two.
Oh,
That's what they
okay,
came
so
out, yes.
I
So that's a
yes.
that'll be a misconception,
That's-
right, that they
yeah.
have to get,
Mm-hmm.
But I think some of my students were trying to find the straight line, the straight path. Like if this kind of looks like a straight line,
Uh-huh.
So they go.
so that's
Mhm.
yeah. They
right,
can,
right, right, yeah, that's.
They're gonna
what
find
we
the
do.
straight line.
And so, I mean,
So what would be the answer for that one? Was it B?
It was B.
It
So,
was B.
but I did
Yeah.
see my students' lines. They were
Lines.
really high.
So they picked
They picked
They picked a high
A.
ones.
A.
Either A or D, no?
Mhm.
One
They
of
picked
those
the
two.
high numbers.
Yeah.
so I mean, I guess we have to emphasize that, you know, same number of points on top, same number of points in the bottom. And the ones that they cross through, those don't count. But that's the way, that's it. Because obviously, you know, it's neutral, so. Okay.
They really feel they have to touch as many points as possible.
Well, that's one of, I guess, we do tell them that, no?
No,
Whenever they're
they think
close.
they actually have to touch the point, like as many points as possible, because if the line goes in the middle, you might not even touch any point, like physically, like, you know.
Right,
your line.
right.
But they think they have to touch as many points as possible. So they,
Well,
that's
actually,
how, that's
now,
why they
now
do
that
it.
you're saying that,
Yeah,
I think that's how I introduced it, you know, as, you know, that make sure that the line is going through the most points as possible.
Have you guys
So maybe
tried it
that's
as
what-
plotting into the regression, como the points?
no,
Which
it's
is
But
not,
there's
no,
some
Yeah.
that you
not this
can't.
year though.
Yeah, there's
Okay.
some that you can't write, so.
Yeah, but on this one, I think if you do that, I think you're gonna be guessing on some of the corner points.
That's
Oh,
true.
or whenever there's like less points, I mean, you know, if there's
Uh-huh.
6, 7 points on it, you know, stuff like that. But yeah, and I think one of the questions, you had to do that. I was going over, some
But
of
I
the
think
questions.
it draws you a line, and that line has 2 points. So that one you could pick the 2 points, I've seen an example like that.
Yeah, well, we'll have to look into that. Let's see. I think we're almost done here. We're on number 25.
Yeah.
Okay, so number 25, that's inequality. Okay, was half 53 for me,
I got 57.
57.
Yeah,
okay.
65.
I had already turned off my apps on the,
Oh,
so,
okay, yeah.
Yeah.
see,
I guess on this one, there's no graph. I mean, it's not graphed already.
On this one, I think the kids might have not read this one carefully because it says not a solution.
Yeah, it would
That's
be the.
true.
So if on letter A, it falls on the shaded area, so they might have just circled A.
yeah, that's true.
So, how can I write over it? Aquí.
Yeah, just press on,
Press
the
the
very
top-
first one, do it
yeah.
there.
So like if they would only plot the points, could they see,
Okay?
Well, they're gonna need to graph the.
Oh, you mean like
cause they
2,
need,
5?
they need to at least grab the line, right?
Mm-hmm.
At least the line.
At least a line.
But I mean, that's not that. But it throws them off that now they don't have the apps.
Oh, well, how?
Cause I mean, you change one little thing on them and it's like, yeah, I don't know how to do it. It's an inequality, that's it. Like I'm not gonna do y equals because, you know what I'm saying?
What was the answer for,
So 2x minus 4,
Yeah, it was B.
that's aquí, right? More or less.
Nora,
So two,
CD.
so who shared with us, they just plotted out, you, right, Rick?
No,
Sí,
it
it
was,
was Erica. So
Eric, so two,
they could graph that in the
five,
calculator,
right, they can grab this,
and then the one that's by itself.
5,
negative 2, negative 2, 5,
negative 2, 5,
and negative 5, 2.
negative 5.
So the answer would be B.
So this one that's by itself. And it's gonna work with not or is, so it'll work both ways.
Yeah,
Unless the point's on the line.
yeah, but they also need to.
Unless there's one on the line and then another one here. Okay,
If
so
they give the line, it's easy.
yeah, that's
They
what.
have to do touch points, but if they don't give the line, they have to draw it. And that's
Yeah.
where they could make a mistake.
Right, that's what I was saying. Like once they have a line, like it's easy for them. But on this one, they don't have anything.
But now they have to know that less than and greater than,
But even if they know that greater than is shaded above,
well, that's true.
you know, they could type that in the calculator and then they could use just the arrow keys and move the cursor just like the way you're doing it
But
right
they
there.
could still shade in the calculator, but I
Right.
tell my students, it's the same thing learning that it's the top and the bottom because the triangle is in the bottom and then the triangle's on the top and then,
You still have to.
and they're like, but we like it that it's highlighted. Like another thing that might confuse you is that it doesn't do solid or dotted line, so it's something that you.
Yeah, that's what we were saying. That I mean, they turn off the apps, so it's like one little thing you change, that's it. You know, all of a sudden they can't grab this on y equals.
But the
because-
problem is that they also don't know, I mean, they get confused with the less than and the greater than. So they might know less than is bottom, but they might think that sign is less than,
Right.
you know,
So-
so.
Deciding which
Yeah.
is which. I mean, so there's a lot of things.
You're having
I don't
your
know.
students saying, oh, the alligators eating the Y?
Yeah.
The thing is that they do say, but they don't understand what that means,
Yeah.
like, they don't understand that who's the bigger number.
The only thing that with inequality it's real tough because you can switch it around.
Yeah,
And I mean, it's not less than or
I
on
had a problem with the Y on the right
the other
side.
side.
So my students saw greater than, they shaded the top, but the Y was on the other side, so I said, it's actually,
The other way around.
so the first thing I told them to do is switch, rotate everything, put the Y on the left,
Right.
rotate the sign, and said, now decide where the shading goes.
And I've tried it like for them to like keep the Y on that side and make them understand like it's the other way around. But it's like if they already know that, you know, less than,
Yeah.
that's it. Like you can't change it and say, oh no, but this one is also less than. I mean, it's not gonna make sense. And I guess the best thing is to just
I didn't wanna
change
mess
everything.
with trying to say, okay, it points to the smaller side, or, I
When
just
I
said,
was-
rotate everything, put the Y
When
on the
I
left.
tried doing that, like flipping the whole thing, some students were like eyeing and like, sir, like, why are you flipping the symbol? You know, cause you're not dividing by a negative, you know?
No, I told them when you rotate a picture on
Mhm.
a computer, does it rotate only the edges or it rotates the whole thing? So you're rotating, that's what
Yeah,
you're
no.
doing, so if you rotate, everything rotates.
Rotates, yeah.
So the
That's a
sign
good
goes.
idea.
And that's
just
what
turn the paper.
I had to
Yeah.
clear up.
Mhm.
Turn the paper and then just
Mhm.
flip them. I mean, just rewrite them again.
Mhm.
Is that correctly?
You're still there.
Or snip it, take a picture of it and rotate it.
Mhm.
Ándale. That's another one. Number. ¿cómo otra vez?
29.
Ah, pues aquí lo tengo.
29.
29, that's the last one. Okay. So others, low one, green. Which one is that one?
The graphing inequality.
Oh, the graphing inequalities. This one, should we blame it on the, on the apps or what? I mean,
Mine still had the apps. Like
They had
at that
what?
time, at the time that it.
oh, they still had it, right?
Yeah, so but now I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, cause without it, it's like they probably felt like real powerful with that, and then you just take it away, and it's like, yeah, I don't have anything. You
I
know what I'm
wasn't
saying?
using
Like they
that,
have
but the
to-
students got 78%.
78 on yours?
Mine got 16. And I'm thinking it was,
Maybe the stressing on the shading.
Also on the lines, they could eliminate some of the answers,
see,
you know?
so they
which
could
solve it up.
eliminate B for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But that is if they are able to match the lines. like, they know the line that the one that's pointing positive, the one that's
Mhm.
pointing negative, they know to match it with each equation first, with each inequality first, to decide which one is dotted, which one is solid.
I think the next step would be for them to graph it on the calculator, like without the shading yet, and they could see the two lines where they intersect. There's gonna be only two of them, right?
No, they all
Cause
intersect.
look, letter D has x minus 3.
No, but
Yeah,
then,
so
but
that
then
should
they can
be now.
eliminate D
So that's
because
gonna
they have
be D,
more,
right?
different y intercept.
Ah, sí,
Yeah.
did
So, so they can eliminate D.
So it's either A,
or
or
C.
C.
Yeah, because see, one is dotted, one is
Yeah.
solid.
So now that's the part where they need to know,
the less than
The-
greater.
yeah, the less than or greater than the shading above or below.
But we need to teach them to eliminate answers like that.
D.
Yeah. Process of elimination.
Yeah, because a lot of times they end up guessing and then they guess the one that's obviously not, because they know they're guessing anyway, so they just, you know.
So pretty much test taking skills. And then there's like the guess and check, like that's a test taking skill. The process of elimination, that'll be like another testing skill. Like work on the ones that are, you find easier, you know,
Mhm.
that's also like a test taking skill.
Yeah.
And just like those little tips can also help them.
Maybe we should come up with a plan, you know, like just test taking strategies, like have nothing to do with the skill, like if we see a question, what can we eliminate? So start right there, don't give me the answer, I'm not asking you for that, like tell me which one to eliminate first and why. Like we can have some exercises like that.
Right, I guess whenever like we review, you know, whenever we start the review, we can start doing that.
Yeah.
But good, that's more like, yeah, we're almost finishing, and it's like trying to get everything out of
But
the way.
we're on
and-
start mode, we know how some of us do the question and then the strategy, we can include another column and says,
Process of elimination.
choose one of the wrong answers, tell me why that will be eliminated. You know, something like that.
When I go over the problems of the day, I show them that, like, especially domain and range. Because a lot of, todavía, even though it's on the board, they'll pick the wrong letter.
Yeah.
And I tell them, anybody that picked either A or B, you're already starting wrong because you're
Yeah.
starting with the wrong variable.
At this point in the year, I
Yeah.
still have some, and not low students, I still have some like medium students picking the wrong letter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's frustrating, but.
Going back to number 20, on that one, did y'all have them graphing?
On what?
Graphing
29?
29?
29?
Like when you would graph them?
What do you mean?
Like on a handout, like they would have them graph and then shade above and below?
I started that
Oh,
way.
yeah,
but-
yeah, we started that one, or I started that one.
I started that way, but they do it with the calculator.
Did they get confused? Cause my
They
students
did the line with the calculator and then the shading.
Yeah, exactly.
Let me see if I can do one. Alright. I had this issue with some of my students. Right? That's your X. I'm just gonna copy that graph that's there. And then, ¿cómo está? It's like this, right?
Uh-huh.
And then, I'll do,
Shaded up.
going down?
Dotted, yeah.
Right, something like this?
Mhm.
Alright, when I was doing an assignment, when I was doing the shading above, like, for example, let me do this one. Alright, and this one.
Yeah, that's right.
No, pues, es pa' que
Pon el highlighter.
highlight it.
El highlighter.
Highlight.
Ahí está.
Okay, so when I had the students shading, you know, like, I mean, I would explain it, like shade, like do this, like lightly, you know, lightly, alright? Something like that, right? But the students were, when I saw them working on their own, they were doing this.
Oh.
And then they would stop here on this line, you know? And then, for some reason, they wouldn't shade the rest. Like, what would you stop there? Like, no, like from the line all the way to the box.
Ignore the.
You know, ignore that
Did
line.
you have them graph both of them at the same
But I
time?
didn't one by one, like they do the first line
first.
in shade,
And shade.
and then the second line in shade. That's
Okay,
the way
I
did
see.
it.
Mine will mess up on the second
On the
one,
shade.
when shading the second line.
The only
So
thing,
they wanted to stop, and the
Okay.
thing,
Don't double shade.
see, don't double
You
shade.
don't wanna double
Oh,
shade.
mine
So-
never did that.
I didn't want to do that because a lot of students would do this when they're shading.
Super dark.
When they're shading, they would have done shading the whole thing like dark, and then they're not gonna be able to see like where to put the points,
Well,
you know, like,
that's what you
I
just-
just assumed that,
That's why you just like different colors.
see,
Might use,
no, we'll see, but I mean,
it's
but
just
they
might
have
use
pencil.
highlighters, with the
I
highlighters,
don't know,
it's still,
if
even
you
if they
were
overlap.
like that prepared, just color pencils.
Alright, sir.
No, I think what he's saying is that they would
No,
shoot too
because-
dark.
Too dark, yeah, so that's why I tell them just, you know, shade lightly, you know,
Lines.
like, so if I had the other line, you know,
I had to fix my
they would
instruction on
see,
that. Por lo
como
mismo.
estaba aquí la línea,
No.
like that, then they would shade lightly también, you know, from the line to the box, whatever,
Well, es que si anyone
And they will
uses
see
the color
the- with the
pencils,
overlap.
porque
And
they
that's
make a
where-
mistake,
Bueno,
and the whole
no,
paper
no.
was,
Pero the lines we do it with pencil. Yeah, the shading we do it with color pencil.
por eso they'll shade the wrong way, and then they'll want another paper. So I did
Oh,
it with
yes.
pencil, and and the first period, I had the problem, que they were not making it dark enough, or everything
Mhm.
was too dark and I couldn't tell the solution. So for the other classes, I did the lines. So where did the lines overlap? Ya miraban los little squares. So it's similar to the calculators, so it was easier that way with the lines. Cause I've done the coloring before, and it gets really messy,
Yeah,
especially with the spats, like,
yeah, and when I did it, if you do it in pen, when you're, you know, they don't see where they overlap, so I did it with color,
same.
with the color pens. And then where they overlap, it's just shade dark.
Okay, so that is it for this session. We're looking forward to have, you know, more sessions like this, and now that we have the grade cam and that everybody's using it, you know, we can have more conversations like this. I think it was very helpful today. Again, thank you very much to everybody.